Very welcome to our guest on our TV show today, and we talking tonight only in English, and we will translate it for you in German. But we both will talk only in English, and I have a special guest and have a very, very warm welcome to see you here, Dr. Henry Wang from Peking. Very welcome in Germany and Berlin.
Thank you.
You are the president and one of the most important think tanks in China, the CCG, the Center of China and Globalization. I have a very short question from the beginning on. Is globalization dead? Are we at the end? Because millions of containers are waiting off sea to go into ports of the different countries, and there are all the goods we need in the world, and we cannot deliver it, and the end of globalization is coming, or we are in, question mark.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for hosting this dialogue. First of all, I think that globalization is still on. I mean, still will continue, and
it's a hope or is reality?
Yeah, so I think it's a reality. Of course, globalization has setbacks. You know, globalization for the last 77 years since the Second World War has a lot of a good time. Now the globalization has a bad time. Of course, we have a pandemic, we have a Ukraine-Russian conflict.
Lockdown in your country.
And of course, we have a pandemic affecting China also. You know, China experienced quarantine, lockdown. That certainly has a effect on the Chinese economy. So all those factors added up, I would say, delayed the globalization or really slowing down the globalization. But I think the globalization is a mega trend, and we are already in the 21st century. We are so much intertwined. Our trade volume has gone up several hundred times compared with 1940s or 1950s. And also we have, communication, internet. We have, all those people-to-people exchanges, student exchanges, travel, tourism. So I think what has happened in the last few years is this really pandemic and deglobalization. We're entering into an adjustment period. So this adjustment period may take 5 to 10 years' time. But I believe that human beings are really looking for good life, good living, and this globalization trend will continue. I'm quite sure of that.
It sounds good, but I don't believe it at all. Because if I see the war in Ukraine,
yes,
and we are waiting that your country, China, is the Western allies contributing help, but nothing happens in Beijing. But you wrote in an interview with the New York Times, it's only a few weeks ago, we would like to see this crisis end. Why don't you stop it and give a call to Putin and your President Xi and says, look, Vladimir, stop it now.
Yeah.
We are waiting for it.
Yes.
And you too, I suppose.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think the war has really devastated the global economy, drive up the energy cost, and it may lead to a hunger and food crisis coming up. China doesn't want to see that. China is the largest trading nation with 130 countries. China's trade with Russia and Ukraine is only a small percentage of China's trading with the West. So China has no interest to see this war. And then when this war broke out, President Xi already called President Biden the next day or 2 days after that, basically saying, look, I mean, this war is no good, and why should we resume
why you're doing this?
To the conflict? Yeah, to the conflict. We want to see a peaceful end to that. Subsequently, President Xi talked to French President Macron, German Chancellor Scholz, and President Biden. All expressed China's interests. We should really working with the international community to mediate, to see a peaceful end to this war, and that's why my New York Times op-ed, expressed this similar opinion that China can actively engage on that. I actually proposed that in my op-ed in the New York Times that we should have resume to the United Nations. We should have, like we used to have 6-party talks on North Korea, 7-party talks on Iran. Why can't we have a 7-party talks, P5 member country plus EU plus Ukraine have a 7-party talks to end this
Do we
war.
have an answer on this?
No, I don't, because I think China is actually applauded the UN Secretary General Guterres' visit to Moscow and Kyiv, and China actually endorsed the visit, but we haven't seen the Western leaders endorse this visit. And China is very supportive of UN initiative, and China is willing to be a part of that initiative, and China wants to solve this crisis together with the international community. China is, of course, falling short of favoring sanctions, but the sanctions will drive up all the cost, will devastating the global economy. As a matter of fact, there's only 12% of the global population favoring sanction, 88%. Countries like China, India, Brazil, Indonesia.
No country in Africa, no country in Latin America.
Absolutely. Only one country in ASEAN is Singapore. So everybody's not favoring sanction. So China is really reflecting that kind of sentiment, to want to see a peaceful end to the crisis, but not really, destroy the world economy. So I think China's position is quite clear. The Foreign Minister Wang, he actually spoke at the Munich Security Conference the first week when the war broke out. And Minister Wang said that any country's sovereignty, territorial integrity should be respected. And Ukraine is no exception. So that's very, very clear. And China is very, Chinese ambassador to Ukraine actually said China never going to attack Ukraine, and China is providing humanitarian aid to the Ukraine, and China wants to see this war to the end.
But your country is buying oil.
Well, I think China is buying some oil, but China Foreign Minister Wei, just spoke at the Shangri-La Dialogue 2 weeks ago, saying that China has provided no military or material support to Russia for the war against Ukraine, and a lot of Chinese company actually pulled it back. Not really active in Russia now. So I don't think there is really a great support of what's been going on in Russia and Ukraine.
You're the founder and the president of the CCG, and this is a very important think tank. And if you can you call your President Xi and said, okay, I ring all the parties and we sat together on a round table and let's talk about the end of the war, and you are in the first line, you are in the first position, China, and you are the president of CCG, and said, look, the whole world is in danger because of this. We have to stop it. And we are the strongest nation, not only in Asia, in the world. We can stop, if you will.
Yeah, I think, President Xi has already made it very clear. When he called President Biden, I remember earlier this year, President Xi has actually expressed a strong desire, and he told President Biden that you and I, US and China, are two largest economies in the world. We have a responsibility for the livelihood of the world economy, and China is willing to work with the international community to promote the peace and to mediate the crisis. So that's a strong opinion expressed. As I said, if there's an international discussion, if China is invited to the table, China would be willing to participate in that. I think that is really, China would not shy from that. China probably is very interested to help to see.
Are you expecting this phone call?
I think the phone call is already having there. There's a number of phone calls that's been conducted between world leaders and Chinese leaders, and that has been there. And there's a lot of discussions. But what we want to see is let's have the mechanism. Let's have the 7-party talk. Let's have the UN resolution on ceasefire maybe, but also have start the negotiation of a long, balanced, more secure peace for the Europe. I even think China could be a guarantor of this peace process. So the key is how can we have this international roundtable? And I think UN Secretary General Guterres would be a great person to chair that. And he's already visited Moscow and Kyiv. And all G7, China and Russia, maybe every country should support the UN initiative. And China is
there's still a good hope.
Yeah.
Still a good hope.
Yes, a good hope. Yes.
And I always think about the line on the pipe of the Silk Road. The Silk Road is going around Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
So it's your interest.
Yes.
It's just nearby.
Exactly.
What's going on with the Silk Road now?
No. I think
it's finished.
No.
It's the end because of the war.
I don't think so. I think the Belt and Road certainly has been impacted and somewhat stopped in Ukraine because Ukraine is a signing country with China on Belt and Road, and Ukraine is the largest trading nation with China, and so the Silk Road passed through the Ukraine, but because of the war, I think there's a temporary stop now. But I really think that China, U.S., EU should work together in post-Ukraine war construction. Let's have a little Marshall Plan to help Ukraine and the region. So for that matter, like U.S. is heading the World Bank, China is heading the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, and Japan is heading the Asian Development Bank, and let European Bank let's all the development banks work together to form an international development bank alliance on the infrastructure, on the green infrastructure, maybe not only for the Ukraine, but for the whole world. We need something to work together in addition to the climate change challenges, in addition to all those debt issues. And so how can we help in the developing countries? How can we really work out of the Belt and Road with B3W, Build Back Better World, and global EU.
One world, one dream.
Yeah, one global gateway. That's right. One world, one dream. Let's do that. That's unfortunately we're not seeing that. We really want to see China working together with other major powers. Perhaps we can have a G3. Like China, U.S., Europe, have a G3 summit on tackling those burning issues that we're facing today.
I suppose that you think every day about these problems because this is a think tank, and a think tank is only people thinking about the future. Yeah. How do you see the future after the war? With Russia or without Russia? And China at the main bloc in the Far East.
I think the world actually is of course never going to be the same again. We are in a very different world now, and with what has happened, a pandemic, and of course this Ukraine-Russian war that we've never seen before. But I think the world probably is going to enter into a long adjustment period. Russian is there. It's a big country, it's a big military power. And it's a neighbor you cannot move for the EU countries. So we have to find a way to coexist peacefully. So I think the wisdom of Dr. Kissinger, probably should be revisited. He was really calling for a ceasefire and then maybe some compromise on both sides. And China is willing to really.
And he changed. You mentioned it very well.
Yeah.
Like me, he changed he played ping pong.
Yeah, ping pong.
And after this,
yes,
there was a change in the relationship between United States and China.
Exactly.
And the future of China starts at that time.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. Because the Western world, particularly U.S., wants to China say, why China is not doing this? Why China is not doing that on Ukraine? But U.S., also to that extent, the Western world, plays China as the enemy number one right now, strategic rivalry number one, and it really wants to bash China. So China is really, been pushed towards Russia. It's not that China is willingly, because China used to have a problem with Russia as well. So the current kind of more closer cooperation between China and Russia, I think it was really a product of U.S. sanctions on China, hostile attitudes on China, and they pushed China and Russia together. So I think, just like I think they should have the wisdom of Kissinger and Zhou Enlai and Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev at that time. They have a détente. They have appeasement. Trying to slow down. And if Nixon was the biggest anti-Chinese, anti-communist figure, but he went to China and then he talked to China, said, how about we have some common objective, and China said, why don't you relax on Taiwan? And then so they reach agreement. But now we don't see that kind of a wisdom now between West and China, and particularly between U.S. and China. If they really want to cooperate with China, they should really look after Chinese needs, core interests, like Taiwan issues or Xinjiang and things like that. So we can still work together.
Yeah, but as you said before, China is enemy number one at this time. I can't understand this. Can you explain why is China now enemy number one?
Yeah.
You are one of the most famous economy partners in the world. And
Yeah.
then I read, oh, United States, China, be careful of China.
Yeah.
Careful of China.
Yeah, that's I think it's very unfortunate because this was derived of the President Trump's 2017 National Security Report. In that report, for the first time in the history of U.S., he has placed China as the major rivalry, even before the Russian, China, Russian, and so that kind of order. So since then, China has always been the major target of U.S. Even President Trump is beating Putin with the aim to align against China. So you see, U.S. As Brinkmann recently said, China Russia may be a short term, but China is a long term threat, and that's why they are viewing China. But actually, China is really doing good for the world. China has been the largest trading nation with 130 countries. China contributes over 1/3 of global GDP growth. China is also, the second largest donor to the UN system.
Without China, no Mercedes cars.
That's right. All the German automakers sells more cars in China than Germany. It's really ironic to see that China, historically always a peace-loving country, never go beyond the Pacific, never colonize any place. Why China has been targeted as the
I ask you,
strategic rivalry number one?
What is your answer on it?
No, the answer, I think that there are several reasons. First of all, I think probably U.S. a fair bit insecure because of the China economy has really doing well, has become the second largest economy in just a matter of 3-4 decades. And then second is that China has a different system. Because they were thinking, look, China joined WTO, China will become one of us, will be the similar, but China did not. China maintained its own path of development, and China, doing quite successfully, lift 800 million people out of poverty, become the second largest economy in the world, and also, of course, created a large middle class of 400.
And still have a communist party.
Yeah, they still have a,
This is unbelievable.
They still have a very strong, stable government. CBC is leading that. So that's where people felt, they have a different system. They didn't converge with us. They didn't become one of us. Might as well, they're going to have a threat, in the future. Let's contain it. So that's the mentality I think Western country, particularly U.S., have now. But they don't think, China is not export famine, not export refugees, not exporting war, not exporting all those bad things. China's exporting all the good stuff, cars, automobile, bicycles,
But at the moment, not the semiconductors.
That's right. China is missing the semiconductors.
So you stop everything.
Yeah, I think that's see, this is a lose-lose. There's the semiconductor, China buys 40%, 50% of U.S. and other countries' semiconductors. If they are not selling, China certainly suffer. But also the semiconductor industry in the U.S. and European and in Asia. So it's all, it's a lose-lose situation for everybody.
So if you look in the glass bowl we have here on the table, what do you see for the year 2050? What's going on with the globalization? As you said before, it's like waves coming up, coming down. Or the Christian people say in the Bible, 70 years of poor and 70 years of rich.
Yeah.
So we have 2050. Is Europe the main partner of China, or is China dominating all the world?
I don't think that China ever dominated the world, in the history of mankind. China built the Great Wall 2,000 some years ago.
And burned the ships.
And preventing the foreign invasion to China. They were not. They were thinking how to protect themselves. China's journal, Zhenghe, voyaged 7 times trips to as far as to Africa. 100 years before.
And then burned the boats.
Yeah, burned the boats. 100 years before Columbus. They never colonized any places. So there's in the Chinese culture, there's no DNA of occupying or invading any other country. So I think China will continue, its agricultural civilization, where family values, concentrated on their own land and living there peacefully. That is really the value of Chinese. So I think by 2050, certainly China have another centennial goal is by 2049, when People's Republic is 100 years, established, China will become affluent, modern society in the world. But that doesn't mean China is excluding others. China is likely to work with others. China will be a friend with everybody, and China always stick to neutral, Confucius neutral position, and China will not be enemy with anyone. And I'm sure European China are so, two continents so far away. There's no border issues. They have all long history, culture, and attaches greater importance to the human beings, development. I don't see how the two cannot get along, and I'm sure the whole world, by the time we really recognize a different China, a China that is really workable and can be cooperated, and also accept China's difference, because right now the China different from others is really the root of the problem. But by the time people think, okay, it's not the end of the world, Fukuyama-san's the end of history does not apply. We're really going to see.
Sometimes it's only title of books and not reality.
That's right, exactly, yes. We have to see the reality.
But to see in the future, as we see now, we have a great relationship to Russia. We buy everything, and now we realize that this brings us in a very dangerous position. In these days, no gas from Russia for Germany, and some people say we are in the same range with the Chinese. We are building our cars in China. If they don't buy German cars, our car industry is finished. Mm-hmm. So, do you think that in Germany and Europe they will think about to cut these relations, these strong relations, to say we must be more independent, either from Russia and from China?
Well, I think first of all, it's not economically viable for German industry to abandon their China, competitive advantage, because they have established China for the last 4 decades. Volkswagen was in China in the 1980s, so they built a world-class manufacturer there. They conquered the whole market of China, and then they have, export into the world. So that kind of position, they earned that position, through years of efforts. And also China provides a very good logistics support, labor supply, talent pool, upstream, downstream, port facilities, and skilled labor, no strikes, very efficient, effective. So where on earth can you find that kind of a capacity and capability? Apple produced 95% of its iPhones in China. It's the same thing. They cannot, live without China because it's so efficient, so effective. So this competitive advantage, I think China has in terms of providing, production and also product will always be there because given its market size and the rich labor supply. But of course, US and EU are always good at innovation, technology. They are good at the 0 to 1, invention, innovation. China is good at the 1 to 100, expansion and, economy of scale. So I think, they all have its advantages of each other. So if they're talking about moving things out of China, where can you find place to produce them? so it's difficult. And also you don't have a place to produce them.
Very easy explanation.
So
don't go away because you can lose all.
Yeah, also second, they don't have a big market to test, to test run, to really experiment. So if they can conquer the China market, they can conquer the world market. So that's really simple of that. But if they abandon China market, they abandon the world market. So I think it's really intertwined.
May I ask you a question about our new foreign minister?
Yes.
It's a lady. She's always attacking China with human rights. Is that only little needles, or is it much more important?
I think probably, I understand her position as a Green Party leader, but of course China is also promoting green, promoting sustainable development, climate change. China is a signatory to the Paris Accord. But as far as the human right is concerned, I think every country have a bit different perspective. Of course, European countries developed a long time ago, and now they are more stressed individual freedom, individual right, and things like that. China has always been a collective society for thousands of years, and China evolved to today, has a different, somewhat different. For example, China has lifted 800 million people out of poverty. That's the biggest human right China can achieve. China is now proposing a common prosperity, so going to lift 300 million migrant workers in the cities. And then China is also, 1 billion people in China have medical care now. 1.3 billion.
1 billion?
Yeah, that's incredible. 1 billion people actually have some social, security. 1.3 billion have some kind of basic Medicare. Mm-hmm. So that's that's the biggest human right, I think, development. So I think, human right, of course, UN Human Rights Charter has outlined very well. But I think maybe we need really a common standard for that. So I would propose that, UN 2030 agenda have 17 objectives. That has been agreed by 193 countries of UN members. Let's use that as a measurement for human right. What about poverty, the women's equality, the right to employment, the right to live a happy life. Those are the human rights criteria. Rather than, some people always say, oh, you don't have the right to go to the street to protest, or can you have against the government? I mean, China probably have a little different conception of the human right, because we are looking at overall. Applied to every aspect of life, not just against the government as a human right. Because human right in the West has often been narrowly interpreted as, go to the street to protest and go to the street against the government. That's the human right. So we have a little different philosophy, because Chinese has always a big family of, big authority, and central government is always in good control, and I've been like that for thousands of years. So, there's a reason to exist.
So we have to learn a little bit about China before talking about human rights.
I think we have to learn from each other. Yeah. I think, I understand, Western society emphasizes individual values, individual rights. China probably attaches more to collective values, collective freedom, which all have its pros and cons. But can't say mine is better than you is better than mine. Let's coexist. Let's measure the performance. Whether you are liked by the people, whether you can deliver the economic benefit to the people, whether you can really making people happy, and going forward. That's really the key for measuring human rights.
There was very, very good relations between the Chancellor Angela Merkel and the Chinese president. And Merkel was traveling, I think, every year, minimum 1 time.
Yeah.
And how does it change with the new government and with the new foreign minister?
I think Chinese people still hold a very good view of German people. You have a very rich culture. Germany is a leading country in the EU. Mm-hmm. Germany has a lot of trade with China. I mean, all the German car makers are there in China, making more cars in China for the world and in China for China.
And maybe we have to think about
but also
this.
Not only the automakers, but like pharmaceutical, like Merck. You got like Siemens, like all those other companies are all doing extremely well in China. I don't see how they're going to really abandon that, because that is their life, and they are supporting blood for what they have in the last number of years. So I really think we should really, because we're so intertwined, and let's find a way to peacefully coexist, not really bashing each other, for the sake of a differencing or different way of living. We have to really accept each other.
Let's look about the consequences of the war and the change, the tariffs, and everything is not quite in order. How will it look like after the war? Do we need a general change in all our economic system to deal with it? We have other tariffs. We need other measurements. I don't know exactly what, But now, at the moment, we have no real security in our economic basics.
I really think we should really work together. I had a dialogue with Larry Summers, the former Secretary of Treasury of the U.S. And basically, we were talking, why can't we replenish World Bank? And so World Bank has been really the product of the Bretton Woods system after the Second World War. Really,
it's a little bit old.
Yeah, it's a bit old. Let's innovate that, reinvigorate that. And China has AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and Japan has ADB. AFDB, European Bank.
And we have EZB.
Yeah. So let's get all the developed banks together. Let's have a little Marshall Plan for post-Ukraine construction. So let all the countries work together. And so let's find some common ground, and so that we can reinvigorate the Bretton Woods system. Let's have a new Bretton Woods moment to really get all the new establishment, all the new mechanisms.
You will be the president.
I don't know if I'm qualified, but I can propose the idea to really work on that. And
what did he say?
No. Larry Summers is definitely he agrees that he said the World Bank needs to be replenished, and I also one time talked to Robert Zoellick, and he thinks World Bank and infrastructure can work together. You see now Biden proposed Build Back Better World, and 1.2 trillion for the infrastructure development. China proposed Belt and Road Initiative. European country proposed Global EU Gateway. So 300 billion euro for that. But why don't we, work
So
together?
you propose just put it all together?
Yeah, let's put it all together and build a beautiful world ahead of us. We need a new common objective. Climate change is certainly the one. Infrastructure deficit of the world, including U.S. and European countries. China probably is the best now in terms of infrastructure. China has the, U.S. military budget is equal to the next 10 countries combined. And China's, speed railway is equal to the next 10 countries combined. But let's do that. China has all those, 4G, 5G stations, 1 billion smartphone users, and, all out of the 10 largest container ports, 7 of them are in China. You talk about all the container. China, when they leave China, is fully loaded. When they return to China, is empty. So let's do more trade with each other.
So we have a good future, but first we have to stop the war.
Absolutely.
And then we sit all together on the table and think about the future. And
yes.
I have a very thank you very much that you talked to me and us on the way how the future of the world looks like. Dr. Henry Wang from the CCG, that is the Center of China and Globalization. And if we all will do this, and all your proposals we took by heart and the hand, then the world will be better. Yes. And then we can dream, was in Peking, the sentence, one world, one dream.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To have you here, and thank you und vielen Dank, dass Sie zugeschaut haben. Das war eine sehr interessante Unterhaltung mit Dr. Henry Wang vom Chinesischen Zentrum für Globalization. Und die Welt sieht gut aus, wenn wir dem folgen. The world will be better if we follow him. Thank you and tschüss.